Hey guys, and welcome to, the episode we've wanted to do for weeks now, Today we're going to be talking about and reviewing
Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens.
Woo!
30 years after Return of the Jedi, the fight between the light and the dark has continued on. Mixed into the battle are the new characters Rey, Finn, Poe Dameron, and BB-8, as well as our old friends Han Solo, Chewbacca, and Leia Organa, who must all band together against the Dark Jedi Kylo Ren and the evil forces of the First Order.
I know we don't want... There's a lot of people who still haven't seen it, don't like to go open weekends, so we're going to try to limit the spoilers as much as we can. So, just a question to start us off. Is the movie worth, waiting for? Is it been, worth it all this years waiting for this movie? And I have to say right off the bat, yes.
Absolutely. Fucking absolutely. It was fantastic. It was everything that we needed back into the Star Wars franchise. There's problems, and we probably won't talk too much at first about it before we give you guys a spoiler warning, because a lot of it has to do with some of the stuff that happens in the movie. But overall, the sum is greater than the parts, and it's a great movie. It's fantastic.
There is kind of a lot of homage paid to the original trilogy. Not a lot was done with the prequels, which is great.
Yeah. Great characters, great writing,
great characters, great emotion attachment to these to even the droids. Like BB-8 was one of the incredible characters.
Standout. He stole the movie.
He probably did. Yeah.
The new star of this movie is Rey, who is a scavenger on a planet. And she's waiting for her parents, and it's played by Daisy Ridley, who plays it with such a subtle there's no effort to her being as likable as she is. You just see her instantly and you're already like, okay, I like you a lot.
It's probably because she wasn't really acting that much, and not saying that she can't act. I'm saying that's probably
a natural
part of her natural personality. And then we have the character named Finn, who people had big old controversy over, had a black man being a lead role, but man, he deserved it because he was fucking fantastic.
Yeah, his character, I think, out of everyone in this movie, is the newest addition to Star Wars. You can kind of, we'll get into that more.
True.
You can kind of say a lot of people have counterparts to the previous films, but he is actually, to me, when I was watching the movie, he is something new. You know. His story and how he gets there, and even the way he acts, it was great. He was something a lot different than we've seen.
Poe Dameron, who is kind of like this new hotshot pilot of the Resistance, which is pretty cool. And he is, of course, played by Oscar Isaac. And this guy is man crush over here. He is just kind of like the face of the Resistance, more of course Leia's there, but he is.
I feel like though his character kind of got lost in the shuffle a little bit.
Yeah,
there wasn't a lot going on with him.
I think it might be explored later. Hopefully it's explored later, because he's such a cool dynamic to add to them, because he is kind of like the confident one, kind of like,
but not obnoxiously.
Yeah,
he's a nice soul, and Oscar Isaac played that very well. He knows who he is, he knows what his abilities are, but he's just joyous.
Carrie Fisher comes back, Han Solo comes back, Chewbacca comes back. Chewbacca is such a pleasure to see on screen again, and now more people understand what he's saying. So it's fun. There are actually people that speak Wookiee in this film, and it's just wow, okay, it's not just Han. And of course BB-8 and C-3PO is back too.
All our old friends, even minor characters like Nyong'o.
Oh yeah, I didn't actually realize that he was going to be in the movie until I saw it.
And Admiral Akbar.
Admiral Akbar is back, so he did not age at all. He still looked like a giant, big old fish.
Out of the older cast, the one who stole the show was Harrison Ford. I was shocked. I've always had a theory that Harrison Ford died 10 years ago, and that they used a Weekend on Bernie's voodoo when they play the music and his body comes alive, and then they put him in movies. But he actually is alive, and he has a pulse, and Harrison Ford can act.
I kept replaying scenes of the holiday special in my head. It's just like when he's just, pushing it through, he's just like, I love all you guys. I love all you guys.
Don't worry, Chewie, I'll get you home.
Yeah, and this one he was just like, Chewie!
Carrie Fisher's there,
Well, she didn't have a lot of big role in this, which
True.
is fine. You know, they're trying to breathe more in a younger life, right?
Yep.
So they focus more on the younger stars, which is a good thing.
This one, we'll just give a brief overview. Luke, he was as good as he could have been in this movie. We'll talk about that after we give you the spoiler review. Yeah. General overview. They did a good job of introducing us and hooking us to these new characters while still giving us enough nostalgia to want to go and see the entire series again. And it was excellently executed, well directed.
We've come to the portion of our review that we have to warn you and say that the next segment is full of spoilers, because there's no way that we cannot review this movie without talking about it in detail. So if you're watching us and you haven't seen the movie yet, turn away now. We were gonna put the time of where you can skip to the ending when we give our general review of it, and we won't talk about it. So look at the time, and you can skip to that time now. Other than that, we're gonna give you like a minute to switch over.
In order for us to dig a little bit deeper into why we think this film worked so well and some of the things that we think didn't work so well, we have to sort of talk about some of the things that happens in the movie. So I think, number one, the best thing about this movie was the story structure and the consequences that happen and all the emotions that are put into making you invested in the story and feeling like something's at stake.
What I found fascinating about this movie was that they kept it in line with The New Hope. Like, it's the shot by shot. There's so many parallels in this movie, and it's fresh. It's not something like a generic copy of A New Hope. It's not. It's the characters. The new characters mesh well, and their chemistry is similar to the ensemble piece of A New Hope, but it's not the same. But what they kept, I think, is what you're saying along those lines too, is story-wise, they had to have a momentum in it. They had to have a drive of why they were doing the things they were doing, or why Kylo Ren was doing the things he was doing.
And why we would come back 2 more times in the next 6 years.
And the reason is the relationship between, you know, this lineage of the Skywalkers and the Force, and choosing between what's right and what's wrong, and light and dark, and Kylo Ren's own troubles and his inner angst about who he's supposed to be is kind of like incorporating the whole story.
Just the sadness of their family line too. It was just like, this is almost 50 years of getting just a little bit of happiness, and then just having it taken away by the dark side. And that's what makes we'll get into what Luke's function is in this story, but that's what makes his reveal so much more impactful, because it's just like, this guy has been through everything. His father has been through everything, and still the dark side can take prevails.
He is Han Solo's son, but he's nothing. The struggle with him, he kind of came off for me as like, oh, I want to be like my grandfather. I need to be as powerful as he is, and that's his obsession with Darth Vader. That he needs to be as powerful, and he needs to prove himself. But he's being like twisted in the Force in that sense.
They didn't give us. I think one of the things I could say about Kylo Ren it's not negative, but they just didn't give us enough motivation to why
he wants to be like his grandfather.
I think that would have been a lot nice. It would have been a lot neater to understand why he is the way he is. But the way that they depicted the character, I kept thinking in my head the first time we saw him, is that this is the Anakin we should have had in the prequels. This is a guy and is well acted by Adam Driver, and he totally puts, because a lot of the stuff that he says in here could come off as stupid and whiny, and he really puts his personality into that performance.
It makes you wonder, like, what makes him so conflicted. Like, it didn't seem like Han and Leia didn't love him and didn't try to do their best for him. And then they have that one scene when they're talking about him, and they say there was too much Vader in him. Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Does it mean that he was always just confused about like the division between the light and dark? Because that's, or how easy he is, or susceptible he is.
From those conversations, I got the impression that, some kids just are born not bad, but they're just born with behavioral problems and some, there are families where there's kids three of the kids are a doctor and one of the kids is like a murderer, and I think that's what's going on here. We don't know though until more is revealed, but it seems like he just naturally had curiosity for the dark side.
Finn is met on Jakku as well, and the reason why he had said that his character is kind of like a really new thing is because now we finally have someone who's a stormtrooper or someone from the actual like the enemy side, and that's not like really invested in the Force. Like he's just a normal person trying to survive, and it's an interesting thing that he's not. This new First Order hasn't used or don't use clones. Like they use actual people and they kind of like indoctrinate them into their belief and systems since a very young age, but his never grabbed on, and so he was always in conflict with the First Order, and so he has that anger for them and that resentment, and he wants to escape them as much as possible, but he does the hero thing and he faces his demons up front. Which is, the point of his character. I wonder if it's going to grow into where he's actually, like, Force sensitive or whatever. That would be an interesting
I don't think so. I think that they purposely have put him on so many posters with the lightsaber and put all of the trailers with him and with the lightsaber because it was the bait and switch. Because the actual Force sensitive person in this movie is Rey. He's an interesting character because there's no... Like, we can pretty much predict where Rey's going, but where Finn goes, who knows?
I don't know. He's going to be a stay-at-home dad. If they're going to keep with that relationship with him and
Rey's like abusive.
Rey is like a high-powered lawyer right now. She has so much power, and he's just like in the background, getting chopped up and shit.
What's the thing called? The kangaroo.
So I didn't want to diminish Finn's character in this. It wasn't like...
Yeah, he was well written.
Yeah, he really was. Yeah. What he also brought to it was kind of the more funny aspect. They did a really great job balancing like the actual drama and the comedy in this. I thought that it was really funny. It was really funny.
Yeah,
and
the humor was well written. I think that has a lot to do with Lawrence Kasdan because a lot of it reminded me of Empire Strikes Back, and A New Hope had a little bit of humor too, but really Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, the banter. The banter.
J.J. Abrams directed this movie. I am sometimes a fan of his, and then sometimes I just can't stand his movies. I did not like Into Darkness. I loved Super 8. This one, he in his direction, you can smell the fear of fucking up, and it helped him create like one of the most visually pleasing movies that I've seen in a long time. Is well directed, and the camera's always moving. The shots are well blocked, and it was great, man. It was great.
Even from the opening shot of how he did that when the letters and everything were coming down, and then when they disappear into the stars and then they move down and then it's a planet and you just see this fucking big star thing coming across the planet and you're like, oh my god, what is that? And then things coming at you. It moved so smoothly throughout each shot. And then of course what made me really happy was that there was fucking less than 10 fucking transitions of like, because
that's your own personal battle with George
oh my god, it was because the prequels are like 30 billion of them in there, just like
the function of those in the original movie is act breaks, and I think this is what J.J. Abrams used them in the same way. I think that's why you were so happy with the way
I was so happy, and he gave us some beautiful shots of like the desert and just really thinking about like
the environment.
Like Tatooine has always been like this longing sense of like these shots, like when you're on there seeing the sun setting, kind of like the person being far in, and just there's always a sense of yearning in those shots for me. And it happened the same thing with Rey's situation on her planet, like this longing to be with his family is shown in those shots with her and BB-8 or her walking by herself.
He used his environment too, and I'm pretty sure that has to do with the cinematographer and the lighting. Every environment was used to its full potential, especially you kind of told me you had problems with it, but in the what is the thing called, the
Star Killer base.
Yeah, the Star Killer base, when we're at the scene where Han Solo is about to die, and it's beautiful. It's a catwalk and it's darkness, and it reminds you of Empire Strikes Back when Vader was about to tell Luke, but then you have like the lighting from the outside is lighting everything, and right when you get to that poignant moment, the light goes away and the red is on their faces. It's great. It was so great to me.
I mean, I understood what they were doing, and yes, it was very lovely doing that whole light and dark and kind of the reactions of it being played out, but not anyone speaking, but the light diminishing, and you knew what was gonna happen. I was just like, okay.
It's nice to have that back in Star Wars. Would you like the alternative of talking?
But we didn't. No, I would not. That's true. But it just felt like, they did such a good job, like setting up those shots. It seemed too much.
The biggest problems that I had, and I think we both kind of talked about this, is that you have these beautifully shot scenes. You have all this blocking where you understand what's going on, and it's great. But just on top of it, just in case the audience didn't know, we're just gonna say it outright what's going on, and I hated that. And it made me so angry. I don't think filmmakers trust audiences anymore to be able to just understand subtlety. It's like, I know that there was one scene that specifically that you pointed out that is a perfect example of this. Is when they're on the Starkiller base. Han Solo has already gotten on the planet.
And he's already bombing everything.
Kylo Ren is talking to someone because he's trying to look for Rey, but then he senses his father is there, and he turns around. The camera's great. The camera zooms in. You don't need anything else after that.
Yeah, you don't need to tell us that he senses his father. You don't need to tell us anything. And they fucking did it. He goes, and he's Han Solo.
Yeah, and it's just like, I didn't need to know that. I knew what was going on. We just saw Han Solo land on the planet, and we're seeing that something has caught you because you stopped mid-sentence. We didn't need that.
So you knew what that pause and that face and that zoom in meant.
Even beyond the language of Star Wars, you just know in a story, when something's set up well, you don't have to question it. And I don't know why. I don't know why that was, but maybe people really wouldn't have been able to get it if they hadn't have done it that way. But,
like I'm saying, if you're coming into this new, you probably won't.
But just like, outside of Star Wars and just in general storytelling, if something's set up before, your brain should be able to tell you.
But you're assuming that people are.
But you've seen in scenes before in the movie that they're able to sense each other. So then you should automatically, your brain should just tell you that's what's going on if it's set up well, and it was.
I can't really think of too many other places where that happened. I know there was some with like with Maz, the character Maz, the little alien girl played by Lupita Nyong'o,
Lupita Nyong'o,
I think. Shut up, dude. She's her character, is kind of supposed to be like the sage hermit Yoda version of this right now, I think. Yoda. Yeah. And with Luke's lightsaber, when she's the one that's been housing it for so many years, and when Rey feels it or gets called to it, she kind of tells her like, this splash of what the Force is and stuff to kind of motivate her. And he's like, that's Luke's lightsaber. I've had it for a very long time. And then she gives a rundown. It's kind of just telling this.
Exposition.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of times where the dialogue is taken over by exposition. And I think that was a little not so good. Especially, it was that scene. There was the scene between Rey and Finn. When he's pretty much running down
his life story and everything.
And everything we just saw in the past 30 minutes. But the whole purpose of the conversation was to show that he actually cares about Rey. But you could have just did that. You didn't have to remind us what we just fucking saw. I wasn't so crazy about Starkiller Base. That could have just not happened, and the movie would have still been okay. I just feel like it was a place to where they needed to go to blow stuff up, which is fine. But I just didn't, like in the A New Hope, the Death Star, you've seen it so many times since the beginning of the movie that it's a threat, and I think they introduced it so late into the movie, and it was kind of a sloppy way that I didn't. Every time they switch back to those scenes when they were trying to destroy it, the X-Wings and all that stuff, I was just like, can we get back to the people talking? Like, I wanted to see the drama. I didn't want to see any of that.
No, that's you. I wanted to see it.
There are two other characters that were introduced in this movie who have maybe 10 minutes of screen time combined together, which was General Hux, played by Domhnall Gleeson, and Captain Phasma, played by Gwendolyn Christie from Game of Thrones. They're just in the movie, and then they weren't in the movie.
Captain Phasma was like, I didn't understand she's visually stunning, like in the movie, like the chrome, but there's nothing given to what her role is. I know she's, you know, leading and all this thing, but
she could have just been an extra and it would have been the same function.
What the function of her was to lower those shields.
Yeah. To get us to the end of the movie.
She was like a walking MacGuffin.
General Hux was just sort of like a low rent Tarkin. Like I didn't think he had any sort of standout.
But he's ballsy. That's what I liked about him.
Yeah.
He's ballsy. Like, you know, General Tarkin, yeah, he's ballsy too, but he never spoke to Vader that way.
True.
He never spoke
and
to Vader
I think the one redeeming quality of Hux is their relationship between Kylo Ren and Hux. They seem to have sort of equal footing with Snoke. Whereas the Emperor had
just like a solitary relationship with Vader.
Yeah, like you got the feeling that Tarkin had never actually talked to the Emperor before. Here, he's actually a part of the bigger plan, whatever the bigger plan
maybe
is.
their little council. He did a pretty good job, like in his little rant scene when it was supposed to remind us of like Nazis and stuff.
The Nazi speech, and then they actually went.
He's like, you know, just like, whoa, what's, you know, pop a blood vessel, guy. They did a really fantastic job kind of playing around with the idea of who the fuck is this like supreme leader Snoke. Like there's this looming presence, right, of the hologram of him being like extra large and stuff. At first I was kind of, you know, taken aback by just the CGI, all the CGI they use for him, because, you know, I'm used to like the bad guys being tangible, you know, tangible beings that can actually hurt someone.
I was apprehensive when I first heard. I think I heard Andy Serkis talk about how large he was, and I was just thinking like, oh, that's gonna be the climax of the third movie, is they're gonna be fighting this like giant person. And it was a relief to me when he was just a hologram. And then once I was relieved of that, then I could appreciate like the bigness of his character in his movie. And I think it's supposed to show you that this guy is some bad business.
Did a really good job, you know, keeping us in the dark about him, because it's just setting up for the next movies, right? Or who is this guy supposed to be? You've already mentioned your, you know, your comments about you thinking possibly it's going to be Darth Plagueis.
He has the look of Darth Plagueis, but I don't know. It was a good idea not to give us too much of who this guy is.
I like how they're not using these terms like Sith right now.
Yeah.
And all this, because
they just have
it's a precursor to that.
A menching pass to it.
Everything that I think, even though they're saying a new order, they're bringing back a lot of the older things of like the like, from what I remember reading stuff, like, of course there's a, you know, apprentice and a master, which is the original thing, but just like the overall presence, like the master was always someone to be sought after, or someone to be like, there wasn't a straightforward connection.
Yeah. I think the logic of this movie is totally due to the original trilogy. I think they're steering clear of any sort of thing that has any association to the prequels. And so, like you're saying, it's almost like they're starting over and making their own sort of thing good. Based off of, Is Luke Skywalker in this movie, Ismail?
He is. For like 5 minutes. Less than 5 minutes, like 2 minutes. He is just...
He's in all of but 2 scenes. In this
like
movie.
R2-D2.
Yeah. But does it work well for the movie?
It does. It does. It sets you up exactly for the next movie that's coming. It's just, you know, when everything happens, when Han dies, and kind of like the whole Starkiller base is destroyed, and you're left with this like lingering feeling, well, what's next? You know, Rey and Chewie build this relationship, is kind of shown, where she takes over the Millennium Falcon, and she goes and search for Luke. They fulfilled all their map, and so they find Luke, and she takes, and she's climbing these like she's on an island, a little island, and she's climbing these steps, and at the very top is just a robed man. And it's like, it's not like those robes from the prequels. It's a lighter color. It's something new. It's something fantastic. I was so happy when
before you even see his face, you were just like, oh my god,
I know who that man is.
Like, you knew it was coming, but it's like, they're not gonna do it.
And then he did that side glance, and you kind of see him. He's wearing the hood, and you see his face, and half his face, I mean. And then he takes off the robe, and it's just like longer hair, and he's like, oh my god, there's fucking more camera. That's Luke. And then he's just, you know, missing the arm. He has a robotic arm. Yeah. And you're like, oh my god, this is the Jedi Master now.
I've seen it 3 times already. And the third time, the fanboy in me kind of went away, and I was watching it, you know, as a critic. And I just could see in his face. Mark Hamill's is a really good actor, because you can see in his face just sort of like anguish, and just sort of like, why are you here? Like, leave me alone. And then also a little bit like, I kind of might know you, you know. And it was that he could have talked all through this movie, and it wouldn't have been as emotionally gripping as his little 40 seconds at the end of the movie. And I thought that was brilliant.
The most brilliant part is that she hands him the light, or she tries to like hand him the lightsaber, and he's just looking like, okay, we're about to start this, and then it goes, it just breaks, and you're like, oh, you teases, teases.
He's a broken man. You can see it in that scene, and he doesn't want any part of this. And I think that was a great twist of just sort of like, you. In my mind, I would have thought he would be a hero forever, but this guy is tired.
And he's tired of battling the dark side.
Yeah, and you could pick that up all in 40 seconds of that scene. It's like arbitrary, but what do you give Star Wars: The Force Awakens?
I give it a full 5, man. I can't.
I think this is the first time you've ever given anything a full 5.
No, I've given some. No, is it?
This is your first time?
Oh
my god!
I give it a full 5, just for like the fan in me, but also this was just really a great story, and it's paid so much respect to the first and like the first trilogies. Like there was just jokes about them, like is there a trash compactor? Remember that joke? Yeah. It was so funny, and it just paid so much respect to it. And they had the balls to fucking kill off one of our greatest characters of all time in cinematic history,
because
which I fully fucking respect.
I think that it deserves a 4.5 out of 5 if I'm talking realistically, but I'm not gonna be realistic because I fucking love this movie. I would give it a 5 out of 5 as well. It was just well directed. It's just, you can't separate the fanboyness from this movie, because that's what these movies are made out of. And it hit that on every level. But even if you've never seen a Star Wars movie, you will enjoy this movie. Yes. It was just fantastic. It was great.
That's pretty much it, guys. I don't have anything else. Just please let us know how we're doing. Comment, subscribe, and thank you for joining us on this road to celebrate this fucking awesome franchise. Stay with us. We're probably not going to be doing much until February. We'll be back in February, and we hopefully have some new things, and we'll be revamped and rested. Anything else you want to say?
No, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching us this year. We haven't really been on here that long, but for the people who have supported us, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
And it's been fun.
And we love you.
Bye.
Bye.